Eliza Bennet was a woman whose grace was as effortless as her success in the fashion industry. Her home, a renovated brownstone in the heart of the city, was a testament to her impeccable taste, modern yet warm, with an undercurrent of sophistication that matched her own. It was in the sanctuary of her bedroom, with its high ceilings and soft ambient lighting, that she indulged in her most intimate ritual, arranging her collection of lingerie. Each piece was a work of art, a blend of silk, lace, and satin in hues that ranged from the palest blush to the deepest noir. Eliza's fingers drifted over the fabrics, her touch as tender as if she were caressing the skin of a lover. It was a private, almost sacred moment, a time to appreciate the beauty that adorned her body as much as it adorned her soul. But tonight something was amiss. Her favorite piece, a silk camisole with delicate Chantilly lace edges, was nowhere to be found. Eliza's brow furrowed, a small crease of worry marring her smooth forehead. She told herself it was simply misplaced, perhaps lost in the laundry or tucked away in a forgotten corner of her closet. But as she continued her inventory, more gaps appeared in her meticulously curated collection. With a sense of unease prickling at the back of her neck, Eliza began to search in earnest. Drawers were opened and closed with increasing urgency, the rustle of fabric a whispering chorus to her growing concern. She checked every possible hiding place within her room, the soft glow of her bedside lamp casting long shadows that seemed to mock her efforts. The realization that her lingerie was not merely misplaced, but deliberately taken, struck her like a physical blow. The air in her room, once filled with the scent of her favorite jasmine perfume, now felt stifling, the silence oppressive. Eliza's mind raced. Who would do such a thing? Who would invade her privacy in so intimate a manner? The answer came to her in a flash of intuition, a mother's insight that cut through the fog of denial. There was only one other person in her home who had unfettered access to her private quarters, her son. Oliver, with his quiet demeanor and studious habits, had always been close to his mother. They shared everything, or so Eliza had thought. The bond between them was strong, a duo against the world, ever since Oliver's father had left them when he was just a boy. The idea that he could betray her trust in such a personal way was inconceivable, and yet the evidence of her missing lingerie was undeniable. With a heavy heart, Eliza made her way to Oliver's room. The door, always open now, seemed like a barrier she was reluctant to cross. She knocked softly, the sound echoing in the quiet hallway. There was no answer, and after a moment's hesitation, she turned the handle and stepped inside. The room was a typical young man's space, with posters of rock bands and stacks of textbooks. But the neatness, the almost obsessive orderliness that was unlike Oliver, it was as if he was trying to maintain an appearance of normally, a facade to cover up his secret transgressions. Eliza approached the bed, her hands trembling slightly as she reached underneath. Her fingers brushed against something soft and silken, the unmistakable feel of her missing lingerie. With a sigh that was half sob, she pulled out the camisole along with other stolen pieces, the fabric slipping through her fingers like sands of time, marking the end of innocence. The weight of disappointment settled heavily on her chest, a cold ache that spread through her body. Eliza sat there for a long time, surrounded by the evidence of her son's betrayal, the city lights outside casting a surreal glow on the scene of her discovery. In the stillness of the night, Eliza knew that life as they knew it would never be the same again. The delicate threads of their relationship had been irrevocably altered, and as she clutched the stolen lingerie to her heart, she wondered how they would ever find their way back to each other. The confrontation would come, but for now Eliza allowed herself to mourn the loss of the simplicity and trust that had once defined her relationship with her son. The journey to understanding and healing would be long and fraught with complex emotions, but it was a path they would have to walk together. The night had been long and sleepless for Eliza, her mind a tumult of emotion as she grappled with the discovery of Oliver's secret. The lingerie, now a symbol of the chasm that had opened between them, lay in a silent heap on her bed, a tangible reminder of her son's clandestine desires. As dawn's first light filtered through the curtains, casting a soft glow over the collection, Eliza found herself lost in thought. The initial shock and hurt had given way to a deep sense of concern. Oliver was her son, her flesh and blood, and she knew she couldn't simply ignore the vulnerability he had inadvertently revealed. Eliza realized that behind the act of theft lay a cry for understanding, a silent plea that she as a mother could not ignore. She knew the road ahead would be fraught with complexity, but her love for Oliver was unwavering. It was this love that compelled her to consider a path that was unconventional, to say the least, with a resolve that was both frightening and liberating. Eliza made her way to Oliver's room. The door was slightly ajar, and she could see him sitting on the edge of his bed, his shoulders hunched. In resignation, she knocked gently, and he looked up, his eyes red-rimmed from a night spent in guilt-ridden wakefulness. "Oliver," Eliza began, her voice steady despite the fluttering in her chest, "I found my lingerie." There was no point in denial. The evidence was irrefutable. Oliver's face was a mask of shame, but beneath that lay a flicker of relief. The secret he had carried was now out in the open, and there was a strange sense of catharsis in its exposure. Eliza sat down beside him, the distance between them feeling both vast and insignificant. "I want to understand," she said softly, "why you did it." The words hung in the air, an olive branch extended in the hope of bridging the gap that had formed between them. Oliver's confession came slowly, at first haltingly, as he struggled to articulate feelings that were as confusing to him as they were to his mother. He spoke of loneliness, of longing for connection in a world that often felt cold and indifferent. He described the softness of the fabrics as a comfort, a way to feel close to the mother he idolized. It was a naive and misguided attempt to fill an emotional void, but it was sincere. Eliza listened, her heart aching for the young man before her. She saw the fragility behind his stoic facade, the vulnerability that belied his 20 years in that moment. Eliza made a decision that defied societal norms but adhered to the unspoken bond between mother and child. "Oliver, I can't condone stealing, but I can offer you a compromise," she said, her hand reaching out to cover his. "You can have access to my lingerie, but there are rules. You must never take anything without asking, and we will address this need of yours together." The shock in Oliver's eyes was quickly replaced by a dawning gratitude. The offer was more than he had dared to hope for, and the relief that washed over him was palpable. Eliza's terms were strict but fair, a lifeline thrown to him in the midst of a stormy sea. They agreed that Oliver would seek professional help to understand and manage his urges. In the meantime, Eliza would allow him to pieces from her collection, with the understanding that this was a gesture of love and trust, not an endorsement of inappropriate behavior. As they came to this unconventional agreement, the tension in the room dissipated, replaced by a newfound understanding. Eliza's decision was a testament to her strength as a mother and her unwavering commitment to her son's well-being. In the days that followed, their relationship entered a new phase, one of open communication and mutual respect. The boundaries were clear, and while the path ahead was uncertain, they were determined to navigate it together with compassion and empathy guiding their way. The lingerie, once a source of secrecy and shame, now stood as a beacon of honesty and acceptance. It was a delicate balance, to be sure, but in the Bennett household, love had proven itself to be the most powerful force of all. In the wake of their unspoken pact, a subtle shift took place within the wall of the Bennett household. Eliza, ever the attentive mother, found herself treading a fine line between nurturing and tantalizing. The boundaries of their relationship now blurred by the recent revelations. She was acutely aware of Oliver's lingering glances, the way his gaze would follow her around the room, laced with a mixture of longing and confusion. Eliza knew that her actions held the power to either soothe his turmoil or stoke the flames of his obsession. It was a delicate dance, one that required finesse and an understanding of the delicate balance they were both navigating. With a newfound sense of purpose, Eliza began to test the waters of their agreement. She moved through the house with a heightened awareness of her body, the way her silk robes clung to her curves, or how the morning light played across her skin. It was a conscious choice to embrace her sensuality, to reclaim the power of her femininity that had been overshadowed by maternal duty. One morning, as Oliver sat at the kitchen table engrossed in his studies, Eliza entered the room wearing a thin, clingy sweater that left little to the imagination. She moved with deliberate grace, her steps measured as she reached for a mug in the cupboard. The action caused her to bend over slightly, the hem of her sweater riding up to reveal the smooth expanse of her lower back. Oliver's breath caught in his throat, his eyes inadvertently drawn to the exposed skin. He quickly averted his gaze, a flush creeping up his neck, but not before Eliza caught the flicker of desire in his eyes. It was a fleeting moment, but it spoke volumes about the tension that simmered beneath the surface of their interactions later that day. As they passed each other in the narrow hallway, Eliza allowed her arm to brush against the front of Oliver's pants, feigning surprise at the brief contact. The sensation of the fabric against her skin sent a jolt through her, a reminder of the potent chemistry that now charged their every encounter. Oliver mumbled an apology, his voice barely above a whisper, but Eliza merely smiled and continued on her way. She could feel his eyes on her, the weight of his gaze like a physical touch that left her both exhilarated and slightly unnerved. In the evenings, as they sat together in the living room, she with a book, he with his laptop, Eliza would cross and uncross her legs, the motion causing her short skirt to ride up her thighs. She was careful not to overtly acknowledge the effect her actions were having on Oliver, but she could sense the shift in the air, the undercurrent of electricity that hummed between them. It was a dangerous game. They were playing a dance of subtle seduction that could easily spiral out of control. Eliza knew that she was walking a tight RPP, balancing precarious IOUs lie between the roles of mother and temptress, but in her heart she believed that this was a necessary step in Oliver's journey towards self-awareness. and emotional maturity by presenting herself as a figure of both comfort and desire. Elisa was teaching Oliver how to navigate his complex feelings, how to appreciate and respect the allure of the female form without acting on his impulses. It was a lesson in restraint, in channeling his urges into something positive and affirming. As the days turned into weeks, their relationship settled into a new rhythm. The teasing glimpses and accidental touches became a silent language between them, a way of communicating without words. The depth of their bond and the unspoken rules that now governed their interactions. Eliza remained vigilant, monitoring Oliver's reactions and ensuring that the boundaries they had established were never crossed. She was his mother first and foremost, and her primary concern was his growth and well-being. But in the quiet moments when it was just the two of them, Eliza couldn't deny the thrill that came from knowing she held such power over her sons' imagination. It was a mixture of love, responsibility, and an undeniable feminine pride that buoyed her as they continued to navigate the complexities of their evolving relationship in the end. It was this delicate balance of tenderness and temptation that would define their journey together. A mother's love, unconditional and all-encompassing, wrapped in the allure of the forbiddens. The air was thick with an unspoken playfulness that danced around the edges of propriety, a game of cat and mouse that was as thrilling as it was perilous. Eliza, careful not to cross any lines, allowed herself to indulge in the subtle flirtation that had become their secret language. She found a strange comfort in the way Oliver's eyes would light up at one of her teasing remarks, a warmth that filled the void left by years of emotional distance. One sunny afternoon, Eliza set about the mundane task of doing laundry. The washing machine sat in the small alcove off the kitchen, its stainless steel surface gleaming in the sunlight that streamed through the window. She gathered an armful of clothes, a mixture of her own and Oliver's, and began to load them into the machine. As she bent over to adjust the settings, she was acutely aware of the snug fit of her jeans, the fabric stretching across her hips and thighs. She heard the soft creak of the floorboards behind her and knew without looking that Oliver had entered the room. "Need any help with that?" he asked, his voice tinged with a playfulness that had become more pronounced in recent days. Eliza glanced over her shoulder, offering him a coy smile. "I think I can manage, but thank you for the offer." Oliver leaned against the doorframe, his arms crossed casually over his chest. "I'm sure you can, but where's the fun in doing it all by yourself?" The innuendo was subtle but unmistakable, hanging in the air between them. Eliza felt a flush rise to her cheeks, a mixture of amusement and arousal at his boldness. She straightened up, hands on her hips, and turned to face him. "Well, if you're so eager to help, perhaps you could assist me with the detergent," she said, tossing him a pod with a challenging look in her eyes. Oliver caught it with ease, his fingers brushing against hers in the process. The contact was fleeting, but it sent a ripple of awareness through them both. He stepped forward, his gaze never leaving hers. "As he dropped the pod into the washer like this?" he asked, his tone teasing. "Exactly like that, Eliza," replied her voice slightly husky. She added a playful wink, enjoying the way his eyes widened in response. They stood there for a moment, the hum of the washing machine filling the silence as they took in the new normal of their interaction. It was a delicate balance, the push and pull of their roles as mother and son, intertwined with the undercurrent of something more potent Eliza turned back to the machine, adding a few more items to the load. As she leaned in, she could feel Oliver's gaze on her, drinking in the side of her curves, accentuated by the bending motion. You know, it's not often you find a woman who looks that good doing laundry, Oliver commented, his voice laced with admiration. Eliza laughed, the sound rich and warm. Well, I do try to keep things interesting, she said, giving him a sidelong glance. Their banter continued, a back and forth that was both innocent and laden with subtext. They danced around their desires, each comment, each look a careful exploration of the boundaries they had set for themselves. As they moved about the kitchen, preparing lunch together, the tension between them simmered just below the surface. They shared jokes and knowing looks, the air charged with an energy that was both exhilarating and a little dangerous. Eliza was acutely aware of the shift in their relationship, the way they had learned to communicate not just with words, but with their bodies, with the space between them. It was a game of temptation and restraint, a test of their wills and the strength of their bond. In the end, it was this delicate interplay of desire and domesticity that defined their days. The Bennett household had become a stage for their private performances, a place where the lines between familial affection and something deeper were constantly being redrawn. And as Eliza closed the lid of the washing machine, the rhythmic thumping of the cycle echoing the beating of her heart, she knew that they were venturing into uncharted territory. Together, they were redefining the rules of their relationship, navigating the complexities of their emotions with a mixture of trepidation and exhilaration. The washing machine churned away, a metaphor for the churning of their own feelings as Eliza and Oliver continued their dance on the edge of temptation, each step a testament to the unbreakable bond they shared and the spoken promise to handle their evolving desires with care and respect. It was late afternoon when the next pivotal moment occurred. Oliver, lost in thought, had returned home from college earlier than expected. The house was quiet, the only sound being the gentle hum of the central heating and the occasional creak of the old wooden floorboards. He made his way to his room, intending to drop off his backpack and change out of his stuffy classroom attire. As he passed by the bathroom, he noticed the door slightly ajar, a tendril of steam escaping into the hallway. Without thinking, he pushed the door open, his mind preoccupied with the day's events. The sight that greeted him was one that would be seared into his memory forever. Through the fogged glass of the shower enclosure, he could make out the silhouette of his mother, her body bathed in the soft, warm light of the bathroom. The water cascaded down her curves, tracing the contours of her figure with a lover's touch. Eliza, caught off guard by the sudden intrusion, let out a gasp of surprise. Her hands instinctively moved to cover herself, but it was too late. The image of her, vulnerable and beautiful, had already imprinted itself upon Oliver's mind. "Oliver, what are you doing?" Eliza's voice was a mixture of shock and reprimand, her heart racing from the unexpected encounter. Oliver stood frozen in the doorway, his eyes wide with a mixture of guilt and desire. I'm sorry, Mom. I didn't realize you were in here," he stammered, his gaze dropping to the floor in an attempt to offer her some semblance of privacy. Eliza's initial shock quickly gave way to a calm resolve. She had always prided herself on her ability to handle difficult situations with grace and poise, and this moment would be no exception. "It's all right, Oliver, just give me a moment to finish up," she said, her voice steady despite the rapid beating of Her heart. Oliver nodded, backing out of the bathroom and closing the door behind him. He retreated to his room, his mind a whirlwind of emotions. The image of Eliza in the shower was a siren's call, one that he knew he must resist at all costs. Meanwhile, Elisa finished her shower, her thoughts racing as she considered the implications of what had just happened. She wrapped herself in a towel, her reflection in the mirror a testament to her composure. She knew that they needed to address this incident, hidden to ensure that the boundaries of their relationship remained intact. With a deep breath, Elisa made her way to Oliver's room. She knocked softly, pushing the door open when she heard his muffled response. Oliver was sitting on the edge of his bed, his head in his hands, the very picture of remorse. Oliver, we need to talk about what just happened. Elisa began, her tone gentle but firm. She sat down beside him, the dampness of her hair leaving a trail of water droplets on her shoulders. Oliver looked up at her, his eyes filled with a mixture of shame and an unspoken yearning. "I'm so sorry, Mom. I didn't mean to." His words were cut short as Eliza's gaze inadvertently drifted to the front of his pants, where the evidence of his arousal was clearly visible. The sight of it sent a jolt through her, a visceral reminder of the delicate tight RPP. They were walking for a moment. Neither of them spoke, the air thick with tension and unanswered questions. Eliza knew that this was a critical moment, one that required both honesty and sensitivity. "Oliver," she said softly, her hand reaching out to gently touch his arm, "I know this is hard for you, but we can't let these moments control us. We have to be stronger than our impulses." Oliver nodded, his gaze fixed on the floor. "I know, Mom. I'm trying. It's so difficult sometimes." Eliza squeezed his arm reassuringly. "I understand more than you realize, but we have to maintain our respect for each other, for our relationship. What we're feeling, it's natural to have these emotions, but we can't act on them. Do you understand?" "Yes, Mom, I understand," Oliver replied, his voice barely above a whisper. He appreciated Eliza's candor, her willingness to address the elephant in the room. Without judgment or anger, they sat there in silence, the weight of the moment settling over them. Eliza's presence, her nearness, was both a comfort and a temptation, but she remained steadfast in her resolve to guide Oliver through this turbulent period in his life. As she stood to leave, Eliza offered Oliver a small, encouraging smile. "We'll get through this together. That's what families do. They face challenges hidden with love and understanding." With those words, she left the room, leaving Oliver to process the day's events. The encounter had been a stark reminder of the delicate balance. They were both striving to maintain a balance between desire and responsibility, between the forbidden and the familial. In the days that followed, Eliza and Oliver would continue to navigate the complexities of their relationship, each step forward a testament to their strength and the unbreakable bond they shared. The road ahead would not be easy, but they were committed to facing it with honesty, respect, and an unwavering commitment to each other. She approached Oliver one evening as he sat in the soft glow of his desk lamp, the furrow in his brow a clear indication of his inner turmoil. Eliza's heart ached with a mixture of empathy and resolve as she perched on the edge of his bed, her presence a silent vow of support. "Oliver," she began, her voice a gentle whisper that filled the room, "it's clear that you're struggling with something deeply personal. I want you to know that you don't have to face it alone." He turned to her, his eyes searching hers for reassurance. Eliza reached out her hand, bridging the space between them, offering comfort and solidarity. I believe it's time we explore ways for you to embrace and understand your own nature in a manner that's healthy and affirming. A flicker of surprise and a glimmer of hope crossed Oliver's face. I'm not sure what that entails, Mom, but I trust you. Eliza's heart swelled with a sense of purpose. We'll start slowly with resources that can guide you through this process, and I'll be here to answer any questions and to help you navigate these new experiences. As she left his room, the air seemed to crackle with the promise of a new chapter in their journey together, one that would bring them closer than ever before. Days later, Eliza found Oliver engrossed in the material she had provided. His focus, a testament to his commitment to self-understanding. She approached him with a gentle inquiry, her presence a comforting constant in his world of new discoveries. These books offer a wealth of knowledge, she said, taking a seat beside him. Is there anything you'd like to discuss? Any thoughts or feelings that you'd like to share? Oliver hesitated, his vulnerability evident in the quiet space that stretched between them. I'm finding it hard to reconcile certain desires. I worry that they're inappropriate. Eliza offered him a reassuring smile, her hand a warm weight on his. It's normal to have complex emotions, especially towards those we care about deeply. What's important is how we manage those feelings, acknowledging them without letting them dictate our actions. Their conversation flowed with an ease born of mutual trust, each word a step towards greater intimacy and understanding. As the weeks passed, Eliza could sense that Oliver was ready to apply the knowledge he had gained. One evening, as they sat together in the dimly lit living room, she broached the subject with characteristic grace. When you feel prepared to explore these aspects of yourself, I want you to know that I'm here to support you, she said, her voice a soothing balm in the stillness of the room. You have a right to privacy and self-discovery, and I'll ensure that you have the space and comfort you need. Oliver nodded, a newfound determination shining in his eyes. I feel ready, Mom, and I'm grateful for your guidance. Together, they prepared a tranquil environment in his room, a Yuri where he could retreat and connect with his inner self. Eliza's role was to be a steadfast presence just outside his door, a guardian of his personal journey. When Oliver finally emerged, the transformation was subtle yet profound. He carried himself with a quiet confidence, the shadows of doubt and uncertainty no longer clouding his features. They shared a quiet moment in the kitchen over cups of warm tea, the bond between them deepened by the trust they had placed in each other. Eliza's pride in her son was evident in her warm smile and the tender way she listened as he spoke of his newfound sense of peace. I'm here for you, Oliver, through every step of your path, she affirmed, her words wrapping around him like a comforting embrace. As they each retired to their own rooms for the night, Eliza and Oliver were acutely aware of the profound connection they shared, a connection that had been forged in the fires of vulnerability and emerged stronger and more resilient than ever before. They were allies in a journey of self-discovery and emotional growth, their love for each other the guiding light on the path ahead. In the evolving dance of their relationship, Eliza and Oliver found themselves on a journey of intimate exploration that transcended the conventional boundaries of their mother-son bond. The Bennett household became a sanctuary for a deeply personal quest, a shared endeavor to understand Eliza's body and the intricacies of her physiology. Their pursuit began with quiet conversations, often held in the soft glow of the living room. lamplight where they discussed the complexities of human anatomy and the nuances of female sexuality. Eliza, with her characteristic grace and openness, aimed to demystify her own body for Oliver, providing him with insights that were both educational and profoundly intimate. One evening, as they sat beside each other on the plush sofa, Eliza opened a book on the subject, the pages filled with diagrams and detailed explanations. She pointed to various illustrations, her voice steady as she described the functions and sensitivities of each part of her anatomy. Oliver listened intently, absorbing every word, every nuance of her instruction. His curiosity was genuine, driven by a desire to understand Eliza not just as his mother, but as a woman in her entirety. May I touch to understand better? Oliver asked tentatively, his gaze fixed on the open pages of the book. Eliza considered his request, recognizing the importance of this moment. She nodded, her eyes meeting his with a quiet reassurance. Yes, but remember, this is about learning and respect. We must always handle this exploration with care, with a mixture of reverence and scientific curiosity. Oliver reached out, his fingers lightly tracing the outlines of the illustrations in the book. Eliza guided his hand, helping him to visualize the internal structures and their respective functions. The atmosphere in the room was charged with a profound sense of trust and vulnerability. This was uncharted territory for both of them, yet they navigated it with a shared commitment to understanding and mutual respect. As the weeks progressed, their exploration expanded beyond the confines of literature and two-dimensional diagrams. Eliza, in her role as both guide and subject, agreed to allow Oliver to observe her body firsthand, to appreciate the beauty and complexity of the female form. Through direct experience, they arranged a private session in the comfort and safety of Eliza's bedroom. The room was bathed in a warm, ambient light, casting a gentle glow on Eliza's skin as she lay on the bed, a silk robe draped loosely over her body. Oliver sat beside her, his expression of focused concentration. With Eliza's guidance, he carefully examined the external manifestations of her internal anatomy, his touch feather light and respectful as he sought to comprehend the physical aspects of her sexuality. Eliza communicated openly throughout the process, describing her sensations and experiences and providing Oliver with an intimate education that was both enlightening and deeply personal. Their shared exploration was a revelation for both mother and son. For Oliver, it was an opportunity to shed his preconceived notions and to embrace a more nuanced understanding of the female body. For Eliza, it was a profound act of generosity and trust, one that allowed her to impart valuable knowledge while fostering a deeper connection with her son. As they concluded their intimate research, they each felt a sense of fulfillment and awe at the journey they had undertaken. The bond they shared had deepened, rooted in mutual respect and a shared appreciation for the wonders of the human body. In the quiet aftermath, as they sat across from each other at the kitchen table, the air between them was suffused with an unspoken gratitude. They spoke softly of their experience, the conversation a testament to the trust and understanding that now defined their relationship. Eliza reached out her hand, covering Oliver, her eyes reflecting the depth of her affection for him. "This has been quite the journey, hasn't it?" Oliver nodded, his own gaze filled with admiration and tenderness. "It's something I'll never forget, Mom. I can't thank you enough for sharing this with me." As they each retired to their respective rooms that night, the Bennett household settled into a peaceful silence. The intimacy that Eliza and Oliver had cultivated through their shared exploration had transformed their relationship, creating a bond that was as unique as it was as profound. In the sanctity of their home they had ventured beyond the conventional, embracing a path of knowledge and connection that would forever shape their understanding of each other and the complexities of human intimacy. As the days turned into weeks, the Bennett household was alive with the quiet hum of transformation. Eliza and Oliver had ventured into realms of intimacy that few mother and son pairs ever dared to explore, yet they had managed to maintain a delicate balance of respect and affection. Their shared journey of understanding and self-discovery had brought them closer than ever, weaving a tapestry of connection that was as intricate as it was profound. It was a connection that transcended the physical, rooted deeply in mutual trust and unconditional love. In the stillness of the evening, they often found themselves in the living room, the only light coming from the flickering flames of the fireplace. It was during these moments of quiet reflection that they would talk about everything and nothing: dreams for the future, reflections on the past, and the curious alchemy that had led them to this point in their lives. Eliza watched Oliver grow into a thoughtful and sensitive young man, his insights and empathy expanding with each passing day. She marveled at the strength of his character and the depth of his compassion, qualities that she had helped to nurture. One night, as they sat side by side, the silence between them comfortable and familiar, Oliver turned to Eliza with a thoughtful expression. "Mom, I've been thinking a lot about everything we've shared, and I just wanted to say thank you." Eliza's heart swelled with a mixture of pride and affection. "Thank you, Oliver. Thank you for being open, for being brave, and for trusting me to be a part of your journey." Their conversation drifted towards the future, Oliver's aspirations, the adventures that lay ahead, and the ways in which their relationship might evolve. It was a conversation filled with hope and the promise of new beginnings. As the night drew to a close, they each felt a sense of completion, as if the chapter of their lives that had been marked by internal struggle and discovery was coming to a gentle close. They were ready to turn the page, to embrace whatever came next. With grace and resolve, in the sanctity of their shared space, they allowed themselves to simply be mother and son, teacher and student, kindred spirits navigating the ebb and flow of life's myriad challenges and triumphs. When it came time to say goodnight, they lingered in the hallway, neither wanting to break the spell of their connection. Eliza reached out her hand, gently caressing Oliver's cheek. "I love you, Oliver, no matter what the future holds. That will never change." Oliver's response was immediate and heartfelt. "I love you too, Mom, more than I'll ever be able to express." They shared a final knowing look before retreating to their separate rooms, the night wrapped around the Bennett household like a protective shroud, safeguarding the treasures contained within, treasures of love, understanding, and a bond that was as rare as it was beautiful. In the quiet of her room, Eliza reflected on the path they had traveled together. She was acutely aware of the delicate balance they had maintained, the lines they had danced along, and the love that had guided them through it all. Meanwhile, Oliver lay in his bed, his thoughts a mirror of his mother's. He was grateful for the depth of their relationship, for the way Eliza had stood by him, and for the lessons they had learned side by side together. Apart, They each drifted into sleep, the moon casting a silver glow over the Bennett household. In the tapestry of their shared experiences, they had found a connection that was both unique and enduring, a testament to the transformative power of love, respect, and the unbreakable bond between a mother and her son. Time passed, and the bond between Eliza and Oliver continued to evolve. Their connection, once fraught with the complexities of unspoken desires, had matured into a profound mutual understanding and respect. The challenges they faced together had forged an even deeper appreciation for the unique nature of their relationship. As spring gently unfurled its blossoms, bringing with it the promise of renewal, Eliza and Oliver found themselves at a crossroads. The intense period of self-discovery and emotional exploration had come to a natural conclusion, giving way to a season of quiet contentment and reflection. One Bailey afternoon, as they sat together on the back porch, the gentle rustle of leaves in the breeze providing a soothing soundtrack to their thoughts, Eliza turned to Oliver with a soft smile. "Do you remember when we first started this journey?" she asked, her voice tinged with nostalgia. Oliver nodded, his gaze fixed on the distance as he recalled the tumultuous emotions of those early days. "It feels like a lifetime ago," he mused. "I was so lost, so confused, but you were there for me, Mom. You helped me find my way." Eliza reached out her hand, lightly resting on his. "We've both come a long way, Oliver. I'm so proud of the man you're becoming." Their conversation shifted to the future, Oliver's upcoming college plans and the adventures that awaited him beyond the confines of their home. It was a future filled with potential and excitement, but also one that would take him away from the sanctuary he had shared with Eliza. In the quiet moments that followed, they both acknowledged the inevitable changes on the horizon, yet there was a shared sense of peace in knowing that their bond was unbreakable, that the lessons they had learned together would continue to shape their lives, regardless of the miles that might separate them. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in vivid strokes of orange and purple, Eliza and Oliver sat in a comfortable silence, each lost in their own thoughts. It was in this moment of serene contemplation that they both understood their journey had been about more than just navigating the complexities of their relationship. It had been about growth, healing, and the enduring power of love. The following weeks were a whirlwind of activity. As Oliver prepared for his departure, they spent their time together, engaging in simple pleasures, long walks in the park, movie nights curled up on the couch, and leisurely meals that stretched into hours of conversation. On the eve of his departure, Eliza presented Oliver with a small, elegantly wrapped package. Inside was a silver locket engraved with a single word: "Always, no matter where life takes, you know that you carry a piece of my heart with you," she said, her voice thick with emotion. Oliver held the locket in his hand, the weight of its significance resting gently against his palm. "I'll cherish it, Mom, and I'll carry the lessons you've taught me everywhere I go." The day of Oliver's departure arrived all too soon. The air was heavy with unspoken emotions as they loaded his belongings into the car. Eliza fought back tears, her heart aching with the bittersweet pangs of watching her child embark on a new chapter, independent of her guidance. As they embraced one last time, the tears she had been holding back finally escaped, tracing warm paths down her cheeks. Oliver held her close, his own eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I love you, Mom," he whispered into Her hair, "You've given me so much now, it's time for me to take what I've learned and make my own way," Eliza nodded, her arms tightening around him one final time before she released him. "Go with my love, Oliver. Always remember that no matter where you are or what you do, you will forever be cherished." With a final wave, Oliver climbed into the car and started the engine as he drove away. Eliza stood in the driveway, watching until the car was nothing more than a speck on the horizon. In the days that followed, the house felt quiet, the echoes of laughter and shared confidences lingering in the air. Eliza busied herself with work and hobbies, all the while feeling the absence of her son's vibrant energy. Yet as the initial shock of solitude began to fade, Eliza found solace in the knowledge that their journey together had been a profound gift. The intimate exploration of their relationship had not only strengthened their bond, but had also taught them invaluable lessons about trust, vulnerability, and the transformative power of love. She took comfort in the occasional phone calls and text messages from Oliver, each one a reminder that while their lives were now on separate paths, their connection remained as strong as ever. In time, Eliza found herself reflecting on the extraordinary period she and Oliver had navigated together. She was grateful for the courage they had both summoned to face the complexities of their bond, and for the unwavering love that had guided them through the storm. As she looked back on their shared experiences, Eliza realized that their relationship had undergone a profound transformation. They had journeyed from a place of confusion and desire to one of mutual respect and understanding. Their love for each other, once tangled in the intricacies of their emotions, had emerged purified and steadfast, and so life moved forward. Eliza continued to nurture her own growth, embracing new challenges and opportunities for self-discovery. Oliver, too, thrived in his new environment, applying the wisdom he had gained from their intimate journey to build meaningful relationships and pursue his passions.